Region 5, West Berbice, is the largest single contributor to Guyana's rice production annually, with some 45% of national production. Region 5 is also the largest contributor of beef and other meats from animals reared on lands in that region. All lands in Region 5 fall under the purview of the Mahicum-Bicony-Abari Agricultural Development Authority, MMA-ADA, an agency of the Ministry of Agriculture. In recognition of the importance of its role in the production levels of the region, the Ministry of Agriculture has been expending millions on not only rehabilitating the neglected D&I structures and dams, but has been retooling the entity with millions in excavators and other equipment and tools for the work ahead. The completion of Phase 2 begins this year and has been catered for in the 2021 national budget. Agriculture Minister Zulfikar Mustafa says the MMA is key to doubling rice production in 5 years. The future for agriculture in Guyana is exciting. Let's all play our part. A message from the MMA Ministry of Agriculture. The Hydromet Service Ministry of Agriculture is reminding owners of wells across the country that it is a legislative requirement to have their wells registered with the service, be it for domestic or commercial use. Getting your well registered is just a few clicks away. Visit the Hydromet website at hydromet.gov.gy and click on the well registration tab. Fill out the registration form there and then click the send button. It's that simple. Be reminded that before undertaking the establishment of a new well, a license to do so must first be sought from the Hydromet Department as well as the Environmental Protection Agency. The process for so doing is explained on the department's website. Click on the link for well registration and follow the directions. A message from the Hydromet Service, Ministry of Agriculture. The Guyana School of Agriculture, Guyana's premier institution for certificate and diploma education in agriculture, has opened its virtual learning platform to all students both in Guyana and abroad. 2-year programs now available are the Diploma in Animal Health and Veterinary Public Health, Diploma in Agriculture. The certificate program over 1 year are those offered in agriculture, fisheries, forestry, and agro-processing. Entrance requirements and other relevant information to get you started on your career in agriculture can be found on the GSA website, gsa.edu.gy, or email gsa.campus@gmail.com. The Guyana School of Agriculture, with its main campus at Monrepo, East Coast Demerara, and at Cottonfield, Essequibo. Let's get you started in the business of agriculture. In October 2016, the Kigali Amendment was adopted by all parties to the Montreal Protocol. This included Guyana. The Kigali Amendment brings the future production and the consumption of refrigeration gases under the Montreal Protocol through the phase-out of these ozone-depleting substances and their replacement with substances that are more environmentally friendly. To this end, the Hydromet Service has begun local preparations for Guyana's ratification and eventual compliance with the requirements of the Kigali Amendment. This will require legislative interventions, consultations with all stakeholders and the public at large about what changes will have to be made locally over the next few years. These consultations will begin shortly and will be advertised on all print and broadcast media platforms as well as on social media. For more information, visit the Hydromet website at hydromet.gov.gy. A message from the Hydromet Service, Ministry of Agriculture. The National Agricultural Research and Extension Institute offers specialized services to Guyana's crop farmers. We conduct research and provide extension and quarantine services to ensure Guyana's food and nutrition security, sustainable agricultural development, and income generation for our farmers. We assist farmers to adapt climate-smart technologies, and at a subsidized cost, farmers could now purchase shade plastic, shade mesh, and irrigation sprinklers to avoid crop loss from the effects of climate change. Our organic soil enhancers are inexpensive expensive and a viable alternative to imported brands. Farm certification, import and export permits for agricultural commodities, soil testing, pest and disease management, among other services, are provided free of cost. Farmers can access quality planting citrus material at our 9 plant nursery locations. We are working with Hope Estate and other stakeholders to resuscitate the coconut industry. For more information, visit our website or call us on telephone number 220-2841, 220-5730. Welcome to our first post-budget interview as relates to the allocations for the agriculture sector. This budget, the allocation for the agriculture sector represents the largest amount for this sector. It is $4.6 billion more than was allocated last year. And we've gone through a number of the sectors that have been granted increases and so on. But what I want to talk to you about this morning is about the priorities as it relates to rolling out this budget and your agriculture program for 2021. As you sit here, what are you thinking about as some of the first things that you need to do in terms of getting things going?
So first of all, I must say that let me first of all thank you for inviting me on this program. As you rightly said, we have seen a 23% increase from last year's allocation that we have had in the emergency budget. And this year's budget will be a continuation of what we started last year, because when we started last year, there were a number of critical works that we started out with, because the entire sector need to rehab. We had to do rehabilitation. We had to fix emergency D&I structure. We have to get critical works in place. So this year, what we'll do now, we'll consolidate what we started last year in terms of building these infrastructure now for the long term, so to speak, because last year's budget was an emergency budget to fix these critical works or structures. And this year, we'll consolidate those works now, and we'll build it in a long-term basis so that farmers and the different stakeholders, they will have benefits of these work for long term in terms of work in the agriculture sector. Now, when you dissect the budget and you look at the various sectors, and as you rightly said, what is our priorities this year? Now, my priority as Minister of Agriculture, I want to see that Gaisuku, because we have $2 billion in the budget to continue the rehabilitation and expansion and recapitalization of Gaisuku. When we went to the election, we said that we will reopen the closed sugar estate. And we are on the verge of doing that. As I am speaking here today, works are advancing and works are going on to reopen these closed sugar estate. But at the same time, we are doing critical recapitalization of the present existing estates, the 3 estates, because those estates, they were at a minimum or a maximum capacity of 60%. So we have to now put in a lot of critical parts. We have to do a lot of rehabilitation, and we have to bring it on par with where it was before, prior to 2015. And we know for a fact that the expenditure, although Gaisuku or NISIL or the farmer government would have taken a $30 billion bond, no work were done in these estates. No work were done in these estates. And as a result of that, we have seen production drop. We have seen many workers were dismissed. And Gaisuku last year, as a result of that, Gaisuku were able to produce the lowest production ever of 88,000 tons. Over the last few weeks, and what we have done, we have started the rehabilitation of these existing estates, and now they are in progress. Operation grinding is going on in progress. And last week, for the first time, for a very long time, we have seen 2 estates, Blairmont and Albion, surpass their weekly target, and Iflot produce close to about 97% of their target. So we are already started to see improvement in the production of Gaisuku. So that will be a number 1 priority, to ensure that we put in these parts, we recapitalize on the present existing estate, and also continue the work that we started last year in reopening these closed sugar estate.
Before you move on, you mentioned just now the bond. As I understand it, 9 million out of that had been used up by the past government, not on Gaisuko estates, but other stuff. What has happened to the remainder?
Well, that is the point. We still have to get where is those money. Presently, as I'm speaking here, we have to conduct a forensic audit at this fund, because when I took over as Minister of Agriculture, $9.2 billion was shown to be given to Gaisuko, but Gaisuko was saying that they don't know where the money was. So we still have to continue that. But I am not looking at that now, because I think that will be taken care of by the Ministry of Finance. They will be looking at that. But my job is to ensure that we move forward, because the most critical aspect of Gaisuko is to get it back into operation. We know for a fact that as we are producing sugar now, we are producing sugar at more than the cost that we are selling it for. Now we have to break even. A point will come, because we can't continue to do that. And what we are doing now, we are concentrating on value-added products. For example, packaged sugar. Packaged sugar is a more, you can get more money, more lucrative market you could get for these sugar, right in the Caribbean. So what we have been doing, rather than producing bulk sugar, we are now recapitalizing also on the packaging plant, both at Enmore and Blairmont. So we'll have expansion to those plants, and we'll be having more packaged sugar being sold in the, we'll sell those packaged sugar in the Caribbean market. They are a very lucrative market in the Caribbean. So I'm hoping that the revenue of Gaisuko, by doing these value-added production, the revenue of Gaisuko will increase substantially. And at the same time, with the critical infrastructure that we are putting into Gaisuko, and that means the factory, the field, the infrastructure around the field, for example, the all-weather roads, the ponds, the flood following, the tillage of the field and things like that, those will help us to increase production in terms of yields per hectares, and at the same time bring down the cost of production. Because sugar and sugarcane is that if you produce 100,000 ton or you produce 80,000 ton, you almost get the same cost of production. So it's better that you increase your yield, increase your the hectares that you plant, and do the kind of husbandry in terms of putting in the chemical, ensure that you put all the necessary mechanism in place with the kind of service that you have to do, put in sugarcane, for example, the spraying, the rodent control, all those things are necessary. And as long as we can do that, we'll have better yields per acre, our hectares, and then with the critical works that we are doing in the factory, we'll have more extraction of juice from the sugarcane, and then you will have more production. So that is why we have seen right within 2 weeks, we have seen an improvement in sugar production already. I am hoping that this will be a trend now that will continue to climb with the sugar production, and at the same time to continue to look at the value-added production that we started, packaged sugar, look at other things so that we can reduce the cost of production from Gaisuko and increase the revenue coming in.
It also indicated white sugar might be on the cards.
So we are looking at that too. That is the long term, because as I said at many forums and fora, that we cannot continue to produce raw brown sugar and survive in Gaisuko. Those are things of the past. We have to now go into value-added production. Sugar is important, yes, but we have to now refine it. We have to produce better alcohol, better molasses. Those are the things that we are looking at. Ethanol now. One of the Gaisuko plan right presently is looking at one of the estate, and especially one to produce ethanol. Right? Those are the value-added production that we're talking about. So we have a plan. We have a plan to implement. Very shortly, the board will present that plan to the president and the cabinet, so that we can, as long as the plan is feasible, we will adopt that plan. In the meantime, Gaisuko is pushing to improve production and productivity. Also, when those 3 estates would have closed, we have seen a number of workers whose services were terminated. Now, I am very happy to say that out of those 7,500 sugar workers, we have already employed almost 1,000 of those workers back. So, Gaisuco, we have to look at Gaisuco as not only a corporation to produce sugar, but we have to look at the social benefits of Gaisuco that Gaisuco is providing. So we have to ensure, but for example, in great United States of America, when certain sectors are down, the government subsidizes it. We knew for a fact that when we have the financial crisis, President Obama would have given to GM Motor a lot of subsidies. And every single year in the agriculture sector in the United States, the government is giving subsidies to these sectors. These are vulnerable sectors because these sectors are not at one standing all the time. It depends on market out there. It depends on the climate. It depends on a number of other factors. And we have to, as a government, we have a responsibility. And we have also a social responsibility to the citizens of our country. And we'll continue to satisfy or try to satisfy those responsibility. We will ensure that we invest. We are not investing in a sector just to say that we invest in. We are investing in the people of our country. And that's the important thing of a government. Take care of the needs of the people. And because let me tell you something, the largest corporation in this country is Gaisuco. The largest single employer in this country is Gaisuco. And when you have problems in Gaisuco, the whole country is being affected because you have the direct and the indirect effect. And you know for a fact, Chris, places rural Guyana depends on Gaisuco. Places like Rosal, Kanji, there is no other industry to take care of workers or take in the workers who would have been dismissed from Gaisuco. Many places like you had the entire village economy die a slow death when the estate was closed. The community service that Gaisuco used to provide, the DNI service, the health facility, primary health care, the recreational facility, those things die. So you could see the social benefits of Gaisuco also. And we as a government, we have a responsibility and we will fulfill that responsibility. So that is one of the priority for us this year, to continue to bring Gaisuco in line with other industries around the country and around the world. Then I have been saying this, that agriculture is on the verge of taking off, because prior to August of last year, many persons didn't see a future in agriculture. And then after we would have taken over and the work that we have done over time, we have seen our renewed interest in the agriculture sector. And all across this country, people are now talking that they are interested in going in this sector. As a matter of fact, many farmers would have called it a day prior to August of last year. Now, those same farmers, they are coming back on board, and they want us to help them to get back into the sector, which we are doing, facilitating them, right? And new farmers and new stakeholders coming in. So the ministry and through the government of Guyana, through the Ministry of Agriculture, we have to provide the necessary facilities for these people to have proper infrastructure so that they can farm and come into the sector. So we have seen the largest part of the ministry's budget go into DNI, right? DNI, the drainage and irrigation system in our country, is a critical component to improve our agriculture output. As a country, you know, we are below sea level. We are very prone to flooding. And over the years, we have witnessed a number of flooding across our country. We are trying to mitigate that from the Ministry of Agriculture. We are trying to ensure that we minimize flooding. We can't stop flooding because Guyana is below the sea level. And what we can do, we can minimize flooding. So as Minister of Agriculture, I wouldn't want to say that, look, I am Superman, I will stop flooding. We are putting mechanism in place and working with the citizens of our country, especially the farming community, to minimize flooding, so that we will not have these kind of losses that we have suffered over the years. Late last year, we have suffered some flooding across the country. That is because there were a number of critical infrastructure that works were not done over time. What we have done, and we have visited a number of hundreds of communities across this country from the ministry. We have we interact with thousands of farmers around this country, and with those interaction and those visits that we have took those consideration and those proposals that farmers had made and crafted our budget. We crafted our budget in a kind of way to respond to those needs, those issues that were raised by the farming community. So we have $12 billion this year for the D&I budget. What we'll be doing? Last year's emergency budget, we procure 12 new pumps. And we will not be replacing, when we talk about pumps, people feel that we'll replace the sluices with the pumps. That is not the case. What we want to do, we want to create a system in place where we can have maximum drainage. And that means that, look, when the tide is low, you have the sluice will be in operation. Now, the sluice can only operate for a certain amount of time, by maximum 6 to 8 hours, right? So the tide is low, you have a 6-hour draft, the sluice will open. Then after the sluice closes and you have heavy water in the system, we'll continue to pump the water out. So I want a 24-hour drainage period. So when we have heavy rainfall, because with the high intensity climate change now, and we have witnessed a high intensity of rainfall, our drainage system is built to just take off between 1 to 1.5 inches of water in a 24-hour period. Sometime in a 24-hour period, you have 5 to 8 inches of rainfall. Now, you can't drain 5 to 6 inches of rainfall when your system is catered for 1 to 1.5 inches. Now, we have to complement the drainage system that we have, and that is what we are doing. So, over time, you will see more of these mechanical pumps across the country. We have 12 we are setting up in last year's budget. We have earmarked critical areas as I am speaking here. We have the Indian, and these pumps we have bought through a line of credit from India. We have the Indian technician, they are in the country fixing those pumps presently as I am speaking in various parts in Region 2, Region 3, right here in Region 4, Region 5, Region 6. And right here in Georgetown too, we have 3 pumps in Georgetown. Additional pumps, hydroflow pumps.
These are the new pumps they're
new
assembled.
Pumps, right. So these will help us to complement the system that we have. And this will be a continuous process over this year too. We will purchase some more pumps and we'll put it across the country so that we can cater for the heavy downpour, the high intensity of rainfall, and so that we can take care of the needs of the farmers. Because many times farmers would have suffered flooding, sometimes all the crops die out, right? And we as a government cannot compensate a farmer fully when they lost, right? So we normally give some help like planting materials, chemicals, fertilizers, and so. But remember, the farmer plant with the intention of taking care of his or her family. And we can't give cash from the treasury, you understand? So that is why we have to set and create the necessary facilities for the farmers, and that's what we will be doing.
All right. So you've indicated that the business of agriculture cannot be conducted in the same old way.
No.
And so you have equipped all your agencies with the financial wherewithal, if you like, to support the farmers and to better formulate this partnership that you've been talking about, the farmers producing, government facilitating that production. And so we have seen a closer collaboration between the farmers and your agencies. Let's speak a little to your idea of how this is going to work.
So what we want to do, because as you rightly said, we can't do the things in the same old way. And I have been preparing the ministry with giving the kind of guidance to our ministry, to our officers, so that we can prepare for more innovative way. I want to say that I am happy to report, and I have been saying this across the different fora, that Guyana is once again in the spotlight in the Caribbean. What we have done, our president have taken back that role, the lead role in agriculture in the Caribbean. You know, we surrendered that role to St. Vincent. Not so long ago, I had a meeting about 3 weeks ago with the Minister of Agriculture from St. Vincent, and I indicated to him, and our president, since the last heads of government meeting a week ago, he has taken up that position once again, and he has presented a paper on how to improve agriculture and food security in the Caribbean to the CARICOM heads of government, and that paper has been adopted. You know for a fact to the former president, our former president would have submitted to CARICOM, and it was adopted, the Jagdeus initiative. Those points, those 10 points that he submitted was adopted by CARICOM, and we are working now to achieve those goals. Now we have another paper that was presented by our president now, and the CARICOM heads decided that they have to set up a task force to ensure that we discuss food security and the agriculture agenda in the Caribbean. And that task force will be will be comprised of Minister of Agriculture around the Caribbean, and it will be chaired by Guyana. So we are once again taking the spotlight in the Caribbean. We are pushing the agriculture agenda. We are pushing food security because we recognize the importance of agriculture, and we recognize the importance of agriculture, the role agriculture has to play to achieve food security in the Caribbean and wider field. So we can tap in, as I said, and I have always been saying this, we can tap in to the market in the Caribbean, because over the years, when you look, the importation of agriculture produce in the Caribbean amount to a large sum of money, billions of US dollars. And we can tap in and satisfy some of the markets in the Caribbean. So we are working with our partners in the CARICOM to develop this agenda. So, as I said, so if we have to play the leading role in CARICOM, if we want to be the agriculture powerhouse in this part of the hemisphere, and we want, as we were touted as the breadbasket of the Caribbean, then we have to change our way how we do things. We can't do it the same old ways, as you rightly said. We have to prepare the ministry now to take this lead, to ensure that we instill in our farmers new attitude, new way of doing things. We can't do things in a subsistence way what we just do before. We have to do things now in a more scientific way. We have to use data. We have to use a lot of scientific method. Rather than go into the field and just throw your do planting, you have to test the soil. We are now building a soil lab, right? Before you use the chemical or use the fertilizer, you have to test it. We already built a lab for that. So these initiatives that we have put down and we have started, this will help us to improve our farming method, our agriculture method in Guyana, so that we can prepare and we can have more better production, and we can have production coming from a more scientific background. And our officers, they are being trained to do this. Our extension officer will have continuous training over the next few months, because what we are doing, we are revamping the entire extension services that we have in the ministry. We can't go and do the formality, because let me tell you what I found. I found that some of our officers that normally do the formality. If you use a farmer and you have a farm, and you come to your farm and register his or her present and say that he visit Mr. Christopher Holder. But when the person come to your farm now, he must be able to respond to your needs. For example, your plant needs you need some advice to how to improve your planting method. You need some advice how to improve your soil type. You need advice how to improve your fertilizer, chemical spraying and applications. So these are the things. Our extension officers will be trained in. We have now, I have set up an extension service, which is being headed by Mr. Kuldip, and you have other officers, and they are going around the country training these extension officers. And also, what we have in our budget, we have money that will be procuring a lot of equipment and for these extension officers to work with. For example, a lot of motorcycles, ATVs for the interior location and things like that. So they can be mobile. They will not have no excuse that they can't go to the person farm or visit certain locations. So we are equipping our extension officers, and we will ensure that they be more responsive to the needs of the farmers. Those are the kind of service that we want to do. Also, for the cash crop or the traditional crops that we talk about, I am now revamping NARI. We have a change of management at NARI, and we'll have new person taking over the leadership of NARI, and also we'll revamp the role of NARI. Because over the last few years, we have seen NARI playing the traditional role. NARI has to push this agenda, this food agenda that we have. They have to do research. They have to help farmers to come up with more innovative ideas. They have to help farmers to improve their crops. And at the same time, they have to provide the necessary planting materials. Because if you go in some part of the country at these nurseries, it's just a normal thing. You have to have nurseries that have a number of different plants, number of different things, so that people can go there and choose. So what I'll be doing over the next few months also, after today I go into NARI, I'll be speaking with the staff at NARI. They will have to develop these plant nurseries so that they can be more responsive to the needs of the farmers around the country, right? So those are some of the things that we plan to do this year. These things will start, as a matter of fact, it has started out already, some of these activities that I am talking about. And then, so the DNI service will be critical for us this year. The DNI service, and DNI, that means the traditional crop, the non-traditional crop, and also in the rice sector. Because this year, we are now on the verge of reaping our forest crop for this year, and I am very optimistic that this will be a record-breaking crop for us. With the kind of work we have done over time, from last year to now. And you know for a fact, the largest agriculture scheme in this country when I took over as Minister of Agriculture, we had to do emergency work. And because of the work that we have done last year, we were able to bring out all the produce from that scheme MMA, and also different parts of the country, Region 2, Region 3, 6, and things like that. And this will be a continuous work in progress.
All right, so you have repositioned the new GMC to provide a critical role in the realization of this whole plan of yours for the revitalization of agriculture in Guyana. Just explain for us how you see the GMC's new role as compared to what it used to do.
So I'm glad you asked this question, because you mentioned new GMC. And new GMC normally just be a name only in this country. People heard about the new GMC, but they don't know the role that new GMC should have played, or their new GMC will be playing now. And like other sectors in the Ministry of Agriculture, right, new GMC is a critical sector for us. And when I mean critical sector, it's a sector that have to ensure that we have proper marketing for our farmers' produce. We have to ensure that we help the farmers to get reliable market, as I said. And the focus of new GMC is to not only find market for the farmers' produce, but like I said in Gaisuku, what we are doing in Gaisuku to do value-added product. Likewise, new GMC has to ensure that they help farmers to get value for their produce, make their produce more value-added. When I mean more value-added, I mean that with these agro-processing facilities that we'll be building around the country, new GMC will play a critical role to help farmers to package their produce, to make it more value, give it more value, and at the same time to prepare it for export in the Caribbean and wider field. New GMC will be playing that facilitating role. What we'll be doing this year, we'll be building agro-processing facilities in various parts, in Region 9, Region 10, Region 3. We have a beautiful building in Region 3 that we built when we were in government prior to 2015. But over the last 5 years after 2015, we have, when I went back there a few weeks back, I was very disappointed that that building is not being used. You have one staff there. The former government would have put in a planting chip factory there. That factory is dormant also. You have some very sophisticated equipment in that You have some very sophisticated equipment in that factory, but it's not being used. So what I'll be doing, Region 3 will be a model agro-processing facility for us this year. I will retrofit the entire building. We have the building right next to the river where we can utilize to export produce there. And I want to start a private-public partnership with some investor. We have already had investors came in, had discussion with them. I am now I have already spoken to the manager, the general manager of New GMC. They are now putting out the tenders to start that work there. In Region 9, we will be building 3 facilities. What we'll be doing in St. Ignatius and Arnaputa, we'll be working with the village council to develop agro-processing facility in those communities. And then we'll be building a state-of-the-art agro-processing facility at the industrial estate in Lethem, so we can take care of the needs of the entire communities, communities around that area. So, for example, Brazil, a lot of produce can go over to Brazil, but you have to package it properly, you have to get it labeled properly, and you have to get it export ready. In Region 6, we'll be building an agro-processing facility in Les Behold and Blackbush Polder. You know, in that area, that catchment area, you have a lot of farmers, right, that are doing the traditional crops, but they are not getting the kind of value for the produce, because when they finish, like subsistence they're doing, from the farm to the market, they are not looking at it. So that is why New GMC will be working with the farmers. And the vision I have for New GMC is to create that kind of culture amongst the farmers that, look, we must not satisfy that when we collect the produce and let's take it to the market. We must get the produce, take it to the agro-processing facility, package our produce, label our produce, and export it overseas so that we can get the farmers, if a group or individual farmers, they can have more revenue coming in the country and more revenue for themselves. So that's the kind of vision I have, that New GMC will play that role. We'll be also be looking to develop the Sophia main area that we have there, a packaging facility. We'll building shed to take care of the farmers. But more importantly also, this year we'll be purchasing 2 new freezing trucks for the New GMC, because I have been working with intergovernment agencies so that the farmers in our country can sell their produce directly to these agencies, and we will be facilitating that, and we can use at a minimal cost, farmers can use our freezing truck to transport their produce fresh to these institutions. So that we'll be doing. Also, we'll be putting on 2 freezing facilities at the Sophia Exhibition Packaging Center there, so that also we can help farmers to store their produce there when they take it to package and wait until export time reach and things like that.
You're also catering for the fisher folk as well.
Just now we'll talk about the fisher folk.
No, for the same packaging.
Yes, the fisher folks, and all the agriculture produced in our country. Yeah. The GMC will take care of. And as you talk about the fishing sector is on the verge of taking off again this year, because what we'll be doing, we have a vessel. Last year we would have paid for that vessel. We'll be purchasing new equipment. That vessel will be we'll be purchasing these equipment to put in this vessel, so that we can use the vessel to patrol the coast, piracy. We can patrol our EEZ, and ensure that we have take care of our fisher folks in the country. What we'll be doing though this year, we'll be intensify our aquaculture program. You know for a fact, Guyana has a great potential to develop the aquaculture sector. 2 days ago, I had a meeting with His Excellency the President, and he mandated me and a team to start the process of coming up with concrete plans so that we can implement it in the short term to start the aquaculture, organize the aquaculture farmers, and improve what we are now getting from the aquaculture sector. So this year we have in our budget to improve the Satadeusa aquaculture station there. That station will put more earthen ponds, more concrete ponds, so that will be a nursery there. We'll help farmers to get fingerlings for different species, and also we'll be working with the farmers around the country to develop the brackish and freshwater produce. For example, in Quarantine and in Region 6, there are a number of farmers who are doing aquaculture in shrimp rearing. They get the water from the ocean and they grow the shrimp and then they export. And you have a very lucrative market in North America, in the diaspora, in Canada, in United States. But when you look around the world, places like China and other parts, Asia, bring in these kind of species to United States and sell it. And they got a lot of revenue going in. So we can tap into those markets. And in the long run, we'll be improving and developing our aquaculture sector. In the artisan fishing industry, what we'll be doing, we are working now with various stakeholders to improve that. You know for a fact that last year we would have taken out the VAT and a lot of equipments and inputs in the agriculture sector, including the fishery sector. And we are working with Suriname also, that those fisher folks and the quarantine who are fishing in the Suriname water so that they can get licensed directly from the Suriname authority, who are fishing in Suriname territory and Suriname water, rather than to go through middlemen. So all in all, we are working to develop all the sectors in the country, all the sector in the agriculture sector, all the sector within this agriculture department. We will be working, we will be doing the non-traditional crop is a takeoff this year. The president, when he addressed parliament, he would have mandated the agriculture sector that we must produce all the protein for the poultry industry. That means we have to now, we'll embark on large-scale production in corn and soya. We'll be creating the necessary groundwork. We have $500 million budgeted in our budget this year to do infrastructural work for the intermediate savanna. We already have a large-scale investor there. Last year, I think he produced close to about 300 acres of corn. This year, he told me that he wants to improve that, increase it by 1,000 acres. We have more interest coming in from the local producers, local poultry producers. They want to get invest in that too. And we have other international investors who have an interest to come and invest in the corn and soya industry. We have a lot of land in the intermediate savanna, and we'll be doing the necessary infrastructural work with this money that we have in the budget so that we can start this kind of production here in Guyana. And this is in non-traditional crops that we plan to have. So NARI have to focus, and I am refocusing NARI so that NARI will ensure that they give guidance and then take care of this part of the production. Likewise, I know time is going. GRDB is on the verge of taking off too. As I said earlier, that this first crop, I am expecting a record-breaking crop. We have had 2 new markets for farmers, the rice sector. We have a market in Hungary, and we have another market in Latvia, the former Baltic Republic. I am happy to report that I have had an acknowledgement from the Minister of Agriculture in Panama. They have acknowledged again that they will be meeting. We will be meeting next week. Hopefully, we can resolve that payment problem that started when the APNU EFC were in government. They signed 2 contracts, and up to date, the farmers, the millers in Guyana was not paid. So I'm hoping that this matter can resolve shortly. I will be meeting shortly with the Guyana Rice Millers Association, and I will brief them on this matter. But I am very, very happy that now this matter is moving forward. And those are a lot of work that I talk about on the coast. Also in the interior location, I have met with the Tushaus. I indicated to them our program. We'll be starting back what we started last year. We'll continue what we started last year, the fogging program, the Akushi Ants program. We'll have a number of equipment to give to various communities, especially in Region 1, 7, 8, and 9, those hinterland area. We'll help them to develop their village economy through agriculture. We'll give them the necessary technical support, and also we'll, as I said, that we normally give help in planting material, in chemical, fertilizer. And I'm looking at a program. I don't want to say that we have finalized it, but I am looking at a program where GLDA will help these villages to start up at least some farm in livestock production. I am looking at that. So all in all, Chris, I think the agriculture sector is on the verge of taking off. We have this government, our PPP civic government, we are putting the kind of funds because we recognize the importance of agriculture. We recognize that, look, agriculture is here to stay, and we cannot neglect this sector. This sector is responsible for food security, and we will continue to invest in it. And I'm happy that from last year to now, within 6 months, we were able to increase it, as you rightly said, $4.2 billion increase from last year to now 23%. And I am very optimistic that for the next 5 years, we'll have more funds to develop this important sector.
I want to thank you very much for sitting with us to have this conversation about your priorities in agriculture. I know that you've been talking about smart agriculture, climate smart agriculture.
Another part.
There's so many things that we can talk about. But I want to thank you for taking the time, and I certainly look forward to working with you over the next years. We realize these goals that you've set for farmers. Thank you very much.
It was my pleasure.
Region 5, West Berbice, is the largest single contributor to Guyana's rice production annually, with some 45% of national production. Region 5 is also the largest contributor of beef and other meats from animals reared on lands in that region. All lands in Region 5 fall under the purview of the Mahika-Maikonia-Bari Agricultural Development Authority, MMA-ADA, an agency of the Ministry of Agriculture. In recognition of the importance of its role in the production levels of the region, the Ministry of Agriculture has been expanding millions on not only rehabilitating the neglected D&I structures and dams, but has been retooling the entity with millions in excavators and other equipment and tools for the work ahead. The completion of Phase 2 begins this year and has been catered for in the 2021 national budget. Agriculture Minister Zulfikar Mustafa says the MMA is key to doubling rice production in 5 years. The future for agriculture in Guyana is exciting. Let's all play our part. A message from the MMA Ministry of Agriculture. The Hydromet Service Ministry of Agriculture is reminding owners of wells across the country that it is a legislative requirement to have their wells registered with the service, be it for domestic or commercial use. Getting your well registered is just a few clicks away. Visit the Hydromet website at hydromet.gov.gy and click on the Well Registration tab. Fill out the registration form there and then click the Send button. It's that simple. Be reminded that before undertaking the establishment of a new well, a license to do so must first be sought from the Hydromet Department as well as the Environmental Protection Agency. The process for so doing is explained on the department's website. Click on the link for well registration and follow the directions. A message from the Hydromet Service, Ministry of Agriculture. The Guyana School of Agriculture, Guyana's premier institution for certificate and diploma education in agriculture, has opened its virtual learning platform to all students both in Guyana and abroad. 2-year programs now available are the Diploma in Animal Health and Veterinary Public Health, Diploma in Agriculture. The certificate program over 1 year are those offered in agriculture, fisheries, forestry, and agro-processing. Entrance requirements and other relevant information to get you started on your career in agriculture can be found on the GSA website, gsa.edu.gy, or email gsa.campus@gmail.com. The Guyana School of Agriculture, with its main campus at Monrepo, East Coast Demerara, and at Cottonfield, Essequibo. Let's get you started in the business of agriculture. In October 2016, the Kigali Amendment was adopted by all parties to the Montreal Protocol. This included Guyana. The Kigali Amendment brings the future production and the consumption of refrigeration gases under the Montreal Protocol through the phase-out of these ozone-depleting substances and their replacement with substances that are more environmentally friendly. To this end, the Hydromet Service has begun local preparations for Guyana's ratification and eventual compliance with the requirements of the Kigali Amendment. This will require legislative interventions, consultations with all stakeholders and the public at large about what changes will have to be made locally over the next few years. These consultations will begin shortly and will be advertised on all print and broadcast media platforms as well as on social media. For more information, visit the Hydromet website at hydromet.gov.gy. A message from the Hydromet Service, Ministry of Agriculture. The National Agricultural Research and Extension Institute offers specialized services to Guyana's crop farmers. We conduct research and provide extension and quarantine services to ensure Guyana's food and nutrition security, sustainable agricultural development, and income generation for our farmers. We assist farmers to adapt climate-smart technologies, and at a subsidized cost, farmers could now purchase shade plastic, shade mesh, and irrigation sprinklers to avoid crop loss from the effects of climate change. Our organic soil enhancers are inexpensive and a viable alternative to imported brands. Farm certification, import and export permits for agricultural commodities, soil testing, pest and disease management, among other services, are provided free of cost. Farmers can access quality planting citrus material at our 9 plant nursery locations. We are working with Hope Estate and other stakeholders to resuscitate the coconut industry. For more information, visit our website or call us on telephone number 220-2841, 220-5730.